Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
We know, yes, the questions are very, very germane because we knew what the Nigerian factors always play in derailing issues, and that is why we are here, in order to ensure that we unmask the masquerade early enough before things begin to be. Yes, we know that people are hobnobbing behind the scene. Yes, there might be needs for some form of adjustments. Talking about, I just want to talk about the fact if the CBN has bankers' interest in CBN, yes, which has been some form of an anomaly, something that happened in the past, that most often than not, governors of central bank are chosen from the bank. Maybe apart from Soludo, that came outside the banking sector, and maybe most of them has come from the bank, and they will have this affinity to their colleagues, haven't been friends, and so they will not bring up those actions that will help our banks. We have all had complaints about our banks. But thankfully, Cardoso, the current CBN governor, I don't think he's an MD of a bank. He might have been around the financial services, but now there is an issue which needs to be addressed, and that is to make our bank stronger, so that the banks can do businesses that banks are supposed to do, not just buying and selling. Most of them don't know our banks does a kind of intermediary and buying and selling, currency, forex round tripping, and declare billions and billions of. That is not what the banks are supposed to do. Selling of recharge card, exactly. Some sell recharge card, vending of electricity token, and all whatnot. Yes, these can be ancillaries, but that's not their real function. So with our current state, the banks cannot even finance oil majors, IOCs. Exactly. The banks can't finance IOCs. The banks cannot finance big agricultural or industrial programs. The banks can't finance building of refineries. Rather, they can only help state governors to give them monies to build roads and bridges, and then domicile their FAC in their banks. That is trading. That is just buying and selling. So we want our banks to be able to support SMEs, support agriculture, support what do you call it? Tech hubs. The new craze now is tech. Support indigenous developmental growth. But so when you have such massive capital, and remember the CBN does not approve SHF, shareholders fund. It's only paid up capital and retained earnings. So not the total of shareholders fund. So they will have additional cash. Those talking about job losses. Yes, in the initial, there might be some form of realignment because, of course, MDs that merge will lose, EDs will lose. But at the operational level, because when you have more money, you can now do more inclusion. You can now go more into rural areas and open branches, and there are women that are going to work there. So you now have more inclusion. So that fear of job losses, yes, it might happen at the top. But when you have bigger, wider resources as to create more opportunities for yourself, you need to recruit more people. Yes, tech is there, but you need to recruit more people. So there will not be that massive job losses that people are anticipating. The only problem we are seeing is the fact that those at the helm of affairs don't want to lose control. We saw what happened in some of the banks where people are buying shares, trying to outstage one another. What is that for? Control. So we know that when this comes in, new funds will come from abroad, a lot of institutional investors will come in, and they will lose control. And which is what they are. Not that they like the Nigerian, not that they love the Nigerian people too much, but they don't want to lose control. So we want them, we want to appreciate that. Let us put Nigeria first. Every day we complain about the country, yet we don't put the country first. Let's put the country first. Get the influx of foreign, what do you call it? Of foreign diaspora remittance, foreign money, boost our what do you call it now? Our financial position with the central bank in terms of dollar, boost it up, and then we can deploy those resources down to Nigeria, finance projects in Nigeria, go into agriculture, finance projects in agriculture, and then be able to be sufficient in. So that is the duty of the banks. We can also venture outside the country. There are our West African neighbors that needs massive funding. We cannot become a global, a regional hub for financial inclusion. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we are here. We are here to allow the public of faceless citizens, people that will start carrying a campaign of calming against this policy. We are in total support of this policy. And we are ready to work with any relevant positive agency and authorities to ensure that these programs work and we are able to have a better country, a better financial system, and a better economic model. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Form to take place, this phase of recapitalization, and through due diligence, we have seen that the pressure is high. My question now is this: the CBN as a chief regulatory authority that is expected to move the hands of the reform, why is it that the CBN is not issuing the right or the respective punishment for non-compliance, or for those who are not doing the right thing? Is the CBN part of the vested interest? That is what I want to find out, because we have seen situations where banks have non-performing loans. We have seen the ones that AMCON are taking over. We have seen the malfeasance all around. We have seen the inefficiency of the insurance, the institution that insure, NDIC. We have seen all that, and we have seen how some banks are now in trouble. My question is, how do we move the CBN to do what it is created by law to do? Does the CBN have interest in these banks? Or those who work in CBN, are they also shareholders in these banks? What do we do as a country? Thank you.
I represent this group I also represent. I want to speak on behalf of the media that I also represent. Incidentally, when the first recapitalization took place, I was head of business at that time, reporting the capital market and money market, so I understand exactly how it went. But you see, it's worrisome that as we speak, in case most of you are not aware, out of 24 banks in operation in Nigeria, we have about 17 of them that are almost not being able to recapitalize. So that's how worrisome it is, which is why some of us are in support of this recapitalization. But my question is going to be, when these banks are acquired, either merged or acquired, there are definitely going to be job losses, which of course we can't afford in the country today, because these banks are going to be very powerful to deploy technology and all that, which will result to job losses. So how would they ensure that we don't have more Nigerians being thrown into the labor market? So from the media, I have to ask that.
But what nobody has spoken about is the fact that the people, most of these people that come to do this reform, they are former banking MDs and other executives. They were part of the initial role. Now, are you saying that if they are brought back, and most of them are now still in the CBN, are they not going to continue the role that has been in the Nigerian economic sector for some time? Thank you.
My question is this: apart from the job loss, is there any other things that are there, that stopped this reform we are talking about? I know people in this room, we are all legal professionals. So is there any, I know you always come from the legal angle, some sections, is there any section you can use to back this up? And is there any other things that are more apart from, but probably that's what they are looking at, to, that they don't want to do the reform that you are talking about. Is there any other things that are stopping them not to, do it? Thank you.
What's the name?
Taiwo Omelani.
I just want to know.
Sorry, the name?
The name of the name of the CSO. Please give us the name.
I will give you.
And also, he said some people are trying to frustrate the capitalization. I don't know who are these. I didn't name any. It was a clue now to guide us to.
Somebody spoke earlier that we are all stakeholders in the Nigeria project, and we should not stand askance as passers-by and see programs that should make the country better being swept into the gutter by selfish hands who ordinarily would not think about the progress of the country except where it favors their own interests. And that is the whole essence of alerting Nigeria about this tendency of some people who are strong enough in the system to want to browbeat and frustrate the recapitalization project in the banking sector. The last recapitalization, mine will be more or less some form of explanations on the issues. As a development economist, I will speak and tell Nigerians that the last recapitalization that was officially done in 2004, 2005 reduced the number of banks in Nigeria from 89, a whopping 89 to about 25. By 2004, 2005, the population of Nigeria, before the census of 2006, the Nigerian population was, give and take, about 137 million. Today, we are over 210 million, estimated to be between 210, 220 million people. And that is why my colleague here said that we don't have to wait until things get bad. Recapitalization should be a progressive act, because while the population keeps increasing, it means that the burden of governance is also increasing, and the burden on the economy is as well increasing. And while these burdens and these challenges are increasing, we need strong financial institutions that will be able to shoulder the challenges of these developments and these progressive milestones. And how do you do that? Ensure that we have strong banks. After the recapitalization of 2004, there were some mergers and acquisitions that have now reduced effectively the number of banks in Nigeria to about 18 as we speak. And it has become obvious that even the 18 banks, some of them are not strong enough. Just like we have weak states that are unable to pay their staff, some banks are unable to carry through. And that is why you see the whole curtain of corners. And Nigerians will begin to complain that banks keep pinching their monies in order to pay their staff. Everybody who is a bank customer has had that complaint at one time or the other. All these small, do you call it pickpocket that some banks do, is a result of the fact that some of them are not strong and they are all pickpocketing from their customers to be able to pay their staff and keep afloat. We can't continue running a bank or banking system where many banks will pickpocket from their customers. That is why we support the move by the CBN to recapitalize the banks and have strong financial institutions. As a matter of fact, we have seen that the value of the naira is tied to the capacity of the banks to shoulder their burdens of managing their debts and be able to foster their contribution towards economic development. We keep saying that banks don't contribute to finances of micro, medium, and small-scale enterprises. And we know that nano and SMEs hold the key because this is a labor-intensive economy, and they need strong banking institutions to be able to survive, have access to credit, have access to finance, and have access to funding for their businesses. Also in agriculture, how many of the banks support agriculture? So all the indices that will help for economic development need strong banking institutions to be able to make that progress that will require. And you cannot have such if the banks are weak. So no matter how anybody looks at it, and no matter how anybody wants to politicize the issue or the scheme, we cannot overemphasize the fact that we need strong banks. And how do you do that? Recapitalize, so that there will be foreign inflow in terms of equity that will come to these banks, both foreign and local, and then the banks will be strong, and we get our economy on a sound footing. So on this note, I want to thank everybody and urge that Nigerians should support this scheme and not allow the carpetbaggers, in a manner of speaking, from frustrating this laudable venture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nigerians and the lovers of Nigeria. It's not in doubt that Nigeria has the greatest black population. It is not in doubt that Nigeria has the land mass. It is not in doubt that Nigeria has the natural resources, both human, natural, and other resources. It is not in doubt.
Sorry, Bala, quickly, 2 minutes, please.
Okay. It is not in doubt that Nigeria has been the continental hub for Africa, but it is crystal clear that Nigeria is losing that position, and something has to happen. Let it be on record that Nigeria has not experienced any serious or any natural calamity. It is very clear that Nigeria has not been in any state of war. But in the last couple of decades, so many things about the values of Nigeria have actually been eroded. And there is a need for total rescue. And if we have to rescue Nigeria, the financial institution must come first. The bankers' bank must stand. Nigeria's central bank must stand. And any reform that will bring back the glory days of financial institutions in Nigeria must be respected. And if bank reconciliation is the way to go, I am for it. Lovers of Nigeria are for it. Multinational investors are for it. Nigerians that are doing exploit outside, who want to make sure we enjoy remittance and diaspora remittances, are for it. It's very clear. If you look at the capital base of so many banks today, there is a need for, whether you call it restructuring, bank reconciliation, it is necessary. We cannot allow a situation where Nigerian banks will not be able to play in the international league. We must never allow a foreign currency to replace the Nigerian naira as a store of value. And the only way we can achieve that is to make sure there is effective bank reconciliation. Let us do certain things. If CBN needs to create an adjustment in the window, let it happen. For those who are thinking of what will happen to retained earnings, if there is a need to do something about retained earnings and make sure impairment losses are taken care of, let it happen. But bank reconciliation will bring back Nigeria to occupy its rightful position. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm more than persuaded that we know those who are behind, or the hidden hand, the voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau in this. They are politicians. They are politicians. We know them, and like Liboros said, at an appropriate time, if they don't curtail what they are doing, they will see that the whole world is a sea page, and they're going to be exposed very soon. Has CBN any vested interest? In my honest opinion, implementation has been the graveyard of any good strategy we've had fashioned out in this country. Even in 2004, as highly successful as it was, we saw some of the downsides when the big men and the big women took over. Many of them have been listed in APCOM. Many of them have been recirculated, and they are back in politics. We know them. They are either in the National Assembly, they are the presidency, even the judiciary. Am I painting a very negative picture here? Yes. But to the extent that technology has made such exposure. So if 17 banks have not been able to recapitalize, so what are we waiting for? They say the hand of justice grinds slowly, eventually grinds well. I may give a bit of a leeway to say maybe dot the I's, cross the T's, so that the EFCCs of this world don't get their face slapped in the court of law, especially when some of these politicians who have virtually bought their way out, will still not be at play. I am bold to say I am confident in the central bank governor, the headmaster himself, that he has more than a legacy. And the central bank governor should also not forget that in the constituted economic council, we have a Soludo who is virtually breathing down at the neck, and whether, former or present Sultan of Kano also breathing down his neck, he needs to do something to restore. I believe that is possible. I am also not going to pretend, liberals, that there won't be job losses. Yes, on big scale, we are going to get upscaled jobs, and that will help out. But we have quite a number of dead woods, whether in the private sector or in the public sector, that will not be fit for purpose. And naturally, they will be laid out. Maybe some skills. This is now the time that we should be looking at them so that they are not just thrown out into the job market. There is the concept of head, shoulder, before it gets to the ground. That is well known in private sector. You can turn some of these people into SMEs, you can turn them into consultants, and you can make sure you pay them severance that will help them in their next level. Former bank MDs, as part of this judicial route, absolutely no doubt. If you have not been able to learn your lessons, second time around will be too devastating. Are there challenges? Yeah, there are challenges. 4.1 trillion that we expect to see in this new recapitalization. And the in-depth, the financial inclusion, all on paper, looks right and proper, but I still believe that the structure of Nigeria is not such that if you are not careful and face the brass tacks, we will find ourselves in the gutter. As I speak, you remember from the early days, we have regional interests who have shown their hands and have said that certain things should not happen in central bank, and that if that happened with central bank in terms of wanting to consolidate regulations, they see it as losing some kind of interest from the past. We know these people are so much scared of losing control of their regional banks. Those regional banks, take it or leave it, they will not pull it down, they will not be able to recapitalize. And unless if they are ready to dilute and get proper control and governance, I'm afraid I see a situation where everything, after a lot of hues and cries, the National Assembly will now then want to come in, and when they come in, we're now going to try and put it into vote, and when one puts into vote, I will see votes in past, I am seeing things differently from the way the others are seeing, and if you have more votes than me, and then it's gone down the gutter. Having said all that, the only way that the civil society is making that noise now, I think is great. I think it's better than what happened in 2004. I think it's also better than what my friends Omoru in 1991, the CBN governor himself in 2004, and Balogu in 2007 shouted, and which was not heeded. Now the civil organizations are saying the real survival of Nigeria is economic viability. Whatever form you want to find, restructure, it has to be economically viable. And if this fails, I'm afraid we will not have another chance to try and rebuild. God forbid. Thank you very much.
We must all recognize the fact that if a bank has been established to perform statutory functions and there are clogs in the wheel of progress, those clogs for the bank to be able to do their job have to be, removed. So it's not about losing jobs alone. When the banks are recapitalized, it means the banks will become bigger, stronger, and better. And they will even be able to create more jobs. The banking sector is not only about, deposits or giving out loans. Banks will also be able to invest in critical sectors of the economy. And in that way, the banks will be, building up our economy for greater productivity and employment of our people. So by and large, as a coalition of civil society non-state actors, we are here to alert Nigerians that people will go out there, they will religionize this issue, they will ethnicize it, they will politicize it, and put it in all sorts of coloration to derail the project. So ours is to put out the facts out there, to make Nigerians realize that if the banks are stronger, if the banks are recapitalized, then the banks will be able to perform their statutory functions for the benefit of the Nigerian people and the economy. Thank you very much.
Look, there is no standing on the fence in rescuing our country. Unfortunately, a lot of people has taken us too much. There is this big manism culture, or them against us. And that has created a lot of apathy in the minds of Nigerians, to the effect that Nigerians just have this carefree attitude. They say they let them do what they want to do. Let them do what they want to do is what has brought us to this level. So there are powerful individuals, we understand. There are people with vested interest and people with the required cash and capital to manipulate the system. And these people are everywhere. And so that's why anytime a government policy comes up, they want to come and they have a way of wanting to ridicule it. And who did they use? Civil societies and the press. Nigerians must understand that the country belongs to them. And Nigerians must understand that rescuing this country is a collective. It's not just the president. The president might bring out a policy. But if the policy is not being domesticated and loved by the Nigerian people, that is, accept the policy by Nigerian people, the tendency that policy will be derailed is very high. And that's what we are seeing playing out. So we want Nigerians to understand the fact that they have a stake. And if your money is in a bank, the bank is very important. Today, a bank was liquidated last 3 weeks. And everybody's talking about how much they're going to get. First, it's 5 million. So imagine you have 100 million in that bank. You're only going to get 5 million at the instant before they start selling assets to bring money. So you should be interested. We're interested as civil societies. We're interested as professionals. So we should know that where you keep that your treasure, which is the bank, is protected. And whatever vested interest are people who do not care for your own interests. Anything they are doing to jeopardize that, then we must all wake up and say a no to it. And that's what we're doing. The civil society organization will not relent. Now, you see, we're doing this on our own. If the CBN wants our input in terms of advocacy, in terms of sensitization, we are going to continue. On our own, we'll keep doing what we are doing. But you see, if the CBN wants, because this is a CBN show, We are only supporting the government. If the government wants a direct support in terms of advocacy, in terms of reaching out, in terms of we are valuable. We will be doing it on our own because we have a stake in this country. We'll be sensitizing the people, we'll be enlightening the people, we'll be calling attention to the relevant authorities where we see wrongs happening. We will do that. If at any point we are required at a global stage, we are always available to support the country. The important thing is we own this country together. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Alester Wilcox, former chairman of ICANN Lagos.
One, there is no loyal citizen of any country that will not be proud of his or her country's